In news just coming in, the Supreme Court has stayed the High Court judgment till the 27th of this month. To tell us more, we are now joined by correspondent Vikas Sarthi for more on this. Well, Vikas, the court has, as of now, it has stayed the High Court order. What does this mean? What are the implications? And in terms of procedure, what happens now?
Well, Rukma Attorney General argued that there is some error in High Court judgment constitutionally, that High Court order was against constitutional provisions. But the main issue raised by Attorney General was that Uttarakhand High Court has not yet provided the copy of order by which it quashed President rule. So unless they read that judgment, they cannot argue on merits of the case. And because of that, this High Court order should be stayed. Justice Deepak Mishra, who was hearing this matter, he agreed with the Attorney General's argument and said that Uttarakhand High Court should provide copies of order to both parties by 26th of April, and on 27th of April, Supreme Court will hear this matter again. But meanwhile, the High Court order will remain in abeyance. That means that High Court order will remain stayed, and the implication of this Supreme Court interim order is that now Harish Rawat cannot function as Chief Minister of Uttarakhand unless Supreme Court pass a final order and a final judgment in this matter. And now Harish Rawat was claiming that he has been reinstated by the High Court order, virtue of High Court order. Now that High Court order has been stayed by the Supreme Court. It means that clearly President rule again has been reimposed in Uttarakhand, and apart from it, Supreme Court also directed Attorney General to give a undertaking that unless Supreme Court hear this matter, President rule will not revoke. That means that no attempts will be made by any faction to claim government in Uttarakhand.
Right. Meanwhile, what does this mean for the floor test that was scheduled for the 29th of April?
Well, floor test has not yet been quashed by the Supreme Court, but since the operative part has already been stated that it is that floor test may or may not happen because order is not available with the Supreme Court. That High Court order is not available with the Union of India and as well as the petitioner Congress Party and Speaker of the House. So it is, as of now, the position is till 27th. Harish Rawat will not continue as Chief Minister of Uttarakhand. On 27th, Supreme Court again hear this matter. So it is very unlikely that on 29th will it happen or not, because Uttarakhand High Court order has been stayed. That means that that floor test on 29th of April has already been stayed, but it is not quashed. If on 27th of April Supreme Court feels that there is no error in the High Court order, then it may allow floor test. Or if it feels that there are some problems with the High Court order and Supreme Court needs to hear this matter at length, then that floor test part will also be quashed by the Supreme Court. So everything will be cleared on the hearing of 27th April itself.
Right. This morning, before the court judgment was announced, throughout the day, we had heard how Harish Rawat had expressed his confidence that about his stand. And also, we had heard the Minister Venkaiah Naidu speaking about how the centre was confident of its case. This court judgment, now that it is out in the open, now that it has been declared, what does this mean for both of the parties? Well,
for both of the parties, well, as far as the implication for Congress are concerned, Harish Rawat is no more Chief Minister of Uttarakhand. In fact, as long as on the hearing of 27th take place in the Supreme Court, President rule has already been imposed. That means that Governor will rule the state. All decisions will be made by Governor himself. These are the implications for both the parties.
Right. And meanwhile, when we talk about, so how big a surprise basically would you say this High Court ruling, the Supreme Court ruling has been for this case?
Well, Rukma, it's an interim arrangement which has been made by the Supreme Court. We cannot say that it is a win for a particular party or a particular faction. The point is that on 27th of April, Supreme Court will be in position to hear this matter on the merits, because today High Court order was not available with the party. So on what points both parties will argue before the Supreme Court. So it's a setback for Harish Rawat, because he was very confident that today Supreme Court is going to give an interim order in his favor. But the matter has not been closed by the Supreme Court yet. This is an interim arrangement which will go till 27th of April, and on 27th of April, Supreme Court will decide that what should be done as the future course of action.
Right, Vikas. Thank you so much for joining us there with that update. And well, the much-awaited Supreme Court ruling, as of now, it's an interim order that Harish Rawat will not continue as Uttarakhand Chief Minister. President's rule has been reimposed there. The matter, however, is not closed yet. It will be heard again by the Apex Court on the 27th. And then, as of now, no hearing on the floor test. It is till now scheduled for the 29th of April. But everything depends on what happens on the 27th.